श्री योगी रामसूरतकुमार की
जय।
सर्वं योगी रामसूरतकुमारार्पणमस्तु. We shall see again Bhagavan Yogi Ramsuratkumar in the eyes of a new devotee, a friend from Austria by name Stefan Melnick. The first time he heard about Yogi Ramsuratkumar, that there was an enlightened being in Tiruvannamalai and that he was a chain smoker. Stefan Melnick did not give much thought to it. He was already a devotee of Sri Sathya Sai Baba. But then, when he went to New York, there was a powerful seer who said to him that in this life he had two spiritual teachers, and that the second one he would meet with would bring about a total transformation in his inner and outer lives. He was very impressed with it, and then he wanted to go and see the second one. That is when he heard about Yogi Ramsuratkumar of Tiruvannamalai. It was Mr. Will. They used to call him Yogi Will. Mr. Will, who told Stefan Melnick about Yogi Ramsuratkumar, how powerful he is and in what high state he lived. So he was very impressed, and the fact that the seer told him that his life would change completely after meeting Yogi Ramsuratkumar of Tiruvannamalai, he began to take trouble to come. When he came to Tiruvannamalai, everywhere it was full, every ashram was full already. He did not get place to stay anywhere. But he somehow found a dilapidated building and a room which was rather cheap. Next day he promptly presented himself in the ashram, and there in the ashram people were talking about Bhagavan's car darshan, and then going in a queue, and then going round the statue of Bhagavan 3 times, and all that. He found them ridiculous. He was thinking, what is this? Car darshan? Never heard of such a thing. And a chain smoker? And people should walk in a queue, wait around, and not go near him, only go around the statue while he was still in the body, sitting just about 6 feet away from the statue, his own statue. All these seemed ridiculous to him, but all the same, because the seer had predicted, he was very curious. He wanted to give it a chance. And then, 7 o'clock, the car was coming from Sudama. Bhagavan raised his hand. Even while the car was driving slowly, people were standing in a queue from the gate. And Bhagavan raised his hand and was blessing everyone, looking straight into their eyes. And that did something to him, because he saw beams of energy waves coming from his hand. This was something he was not prepared for, because he already decided everything was ridiculous about the ashram. And suddenly, he saw this God-man coming in the car with his raised hand and waves of high energy, white beams of light, pouring out of his hand, falling upon people. He was quite shaken. He didn't expect this. And then after that, he was prepared for anything. He wanted to sit near him. He wanted to have an interview. And then, of course, he gave his name. He went along with the other people inside, went round the statue, prostrated. And then he went back to the bhajan hall, the dining hall, where the bhajans were going on. Now he knew the inside of this God-man for sure. He did not doubt anymore. He had first-hand experience of the divinity of the God-man. He fell into a deep meditation in the bhajan hall. And suddenly somebody came and tapped him on the shoulder. And they said that he was being called for the interview. Immediately he rushed. Swami was seated outside the Pradhan Mandir in a chair. There was another chair by his side. And he went and sat there. They told him not to touch his feet. So he bowed before Bhagwan, and then Bhagwan gestured to him to sit in the chair. He has described all that he saw, all that he felt in an article. He says in the article, he was sitting close to Bhagwan. Bhagwan's eyes were up. They went up. And then suddenly the eyes were dancing up there, and he was completely lost in a certain work, in a certain divine work. And then he came down. Then he asked him, Stefan Melnick, his name, his profession, the country, everything. And just after that again his eyes went up. He was completely lost once again in some divine work which Melnick could not fathom. And again the eyes came down, and Bhagwan looked at him very casually. Just a look, a casual look. And then Melnick saw a dazzling, brilliant white light pouring out of his eyes. Now he was absolutely flabbergasted. He just did not know what was going on. And then again Swami's eyes went up. He was completely lost in some other work. And then Melnick thought, oh, he should be working on me also. He hoped that Swami was working on him also. And again, Bhagwan came down from that level, looked at Stefan Melnick and took his thumb, just the thumb alone, in his grip. And they sat together like that in complete silence. And Swami was lost in something like samadhi, and he went into deep meditation. His eyes were closed. Melnick's eyes were closed. He could still see a flame, an orange flame, the color of an orange flame. When he opened again, there was a flood of this dazzling bright light, like 1,000 suns in the sky. And what was more, all that he had been seeing as reality, the world, the people around, the idea that he, Stefan Melnick, with a body, his identity, everything was completely lost. He was lost. And this white, dazzling, bright light was pulsating with life. It was vibrant. And it seemed to swallow the whole world. And nothing else remained. The world completely disappeared. He himself disappeared. Swami disappeared. There was only this vibrant, dazzlingly bright light, pulsating, living. It lasted a few seconds. He had no idea how long it was. And then as suddenly, Swami became casual, and he opened his eyes and he saw Swami again. The world returned, and his own identity returned. And for all that was happening there, the intense experiences of a different world, Swami's face did not register any emotion at all. It was very casual. There was absolutely no change, no expression of the experience that just happened. And then Swami smiled and dropped an apple or something into his hand, a fruit. He said, "This beggar leaves you." And he took a few steps, and then Bhagavan shouted once again with a smile, with both his hands raised in benediction, "My father blesses Stefan Melnick." Which kept reverberating in his ears for long. And after that, of course, he stayed for some more time, and every day he was coming, and he found himself changing. And when he went back to Europe, his place, there was a complete transformation in him. That all the time he only wanted to meditate, he wanted to be left alone. And just as the seer predicted, Yogi Ramsuratkumar shook him altogether and gave a new identity, new level of living. Just imagine his impressions when he came inside the ashram. Everything seemed ridiculous, and above all, the supposed God-man was a chain smoker. He ridiculed it. He ridiculed everything that was happening in the ashram. Little prepared for what was to follow. But after that, the very first look at Bhagavan in the car darshan which he ridiculed, the very car darshan, just the raised hand of Bhagavan, and he saw beams of pulsating energy, white light, falling upon everybody. Many people saw his hand raised, that's all. But nobody knew what was involved. Of course, they knew only from things that happened afterwards in their life. But here, he could see what was happening even while it was happening. Now that Bhagavan, that pulsating, vibrant, dazzling brightness, the column of fire that was there in the place of Arunachala, that Melnick saw, the color of the flame, And what I described this morning, Arunachala Jyoti, that Jayendra Acharya called him Arunachala Jyoti, is now here in front of us in the form of the Murti, with his hand raised in benediction, much the same way as he did in his car darshan when Stefan Melnick was there waiting along with other people. So, and we have had this golden opportunity, the tremendous opportunity of singing his powerful Nama. And now we shall submit our prayers